is mention of oral leases being recognized. Every fiber of my being says that an oral agreement goes against our training regarding the statute of frauds. Does anyone remember from school what that statute says? But it did say for a contract to be legit, it needed to be in writing. Then here we go with oral leases in our own contracts. Every part of me goes, I'm out, bye. Because if you all do read the Tierra Grand magazine, we're gonna go back to what you're speaking about, Tremaine, but this is a sticking point for me. The Tierra Grand magazine, about one issue, maybe 2 issues ago, had a lengthy article about oral leases and how bad it can go. You guys will be right in the middle of this if that stuff isn't squared away by attorneys prior to closing. Who said what when? We're talking spit in the handshake. 6 generations back, and we've been going by this agreement that no one has written down anywhere. So be aware what you're getting into. Yes, or Nick?
Yeah, I'm just curious, why is this even in discussion? Why all of a sudden is an oral lease an option after so many years of legal, it's black and white, usually it's, why is this a discussion in the first place?
Another big issue that we do see is sometimes there's abandoned houses on it, and the house, there is a surface lease. And I'm going through that right now where they own the land. There's a house with a whole different legal description and property number sitting on the land, and the house was abandoned. So the kid is selling the land from his father, did not know that there's another owner for that house. And it's sitting in the not in the middle of the land, but on the land.
There's also an instance where the people that work on the land, there are several generations that have worked there, and the grandchildren didn't know that grandparents from the original owners of the land had given them as a gift, because their whole family has been there working on the land forever.
And that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. So definitely, Nick, this is designed to make you aware of what you might have glazed over. All right, my friends, let's do it. Let's see what you know. Let's see what you know and see if your answers line up with the ones on the screen. I'll let you know when we've hit the end, so you can take a picture if you'd like to do this in your own offices as an office exercise. Totally up to you. So here we go. Number 3, for Brazilians, giving this hand gesture to indicate all is well can be considered rude. What was the answer that you all came up with? And you can put it in the chat if you'd like. Exactly. It is okay. The chirp, that signal might be considered rude by some. How about number 6 across? Some Americans think this is unlucky and don't want it in their addresses.
13.
13, my friends. Don't even put it in the address. Don't put it in the elevator. Don't even want a 13th floor. How about number 7? When we're looking at a home, you might be required to remove what?
Take your shoes off.
There it is. Take off your shoes. So it depends on how you ordered those words. That was a long one. Take off your shoes. Okay, number 8. Some Asians believe this number is unlucky because it sounds like their word for death. 4. It is 4. And let me see, number 9. This is the Chinese art of creating harmonious surroundings. What is that word? 10 extra points if you can spell it. I heard every single group. Who knows how to spell it? I'm looking at the chat.
Feng Shui.
Feng Shui. That's how you spell it. F-E-N-G-S-H-U-I. Feng Shui. And avoid using this ink color, especially when writing names when working with clients from South Korea. Red. Of course, you don't have too many choices. Red. And then devout members of this faith do not allow the touching of non-family members of the opposite sex. A handshake is not going to seal the deal, and that is ta. So, and I learned that the hard way. Gentleman was like, because I kept trying to shake his hand, and then I was like, well, how about a fist bump? And he kept saying, ma'am, if you don't stop asking me, I cannot touch you. I was like, how about a pinky swear? And he was like, lady, we can't even touch fingernails. Stop it. And he really did. Take a picture of this if you need those answers. Tilting of the head. This one's a big one for me. Tilting of the head sometimes really can mean, oh, come on now, seriously. That's a big clue. Somebody doesn't believe what you just said. Or like they say, thinks you're stupid. But it's like, come on now, really? If someone is turned sideways like this gentleman in the middle, they're already put off by what you're saying. They're already turned away from you. They're not engaged in what you're saying. You're having a business conversation with someone who's turned away from you, you've already halfway lost them. That's why I'm watching your posture. When you all turn away from me, except for those of you who have to watch me on a separate slide, I lost you already. The fact that many of you are turned forward and are watching this class this way, it's always a good thing for me. You're engaged, and I like that. But take a look at now this one's a tough one. See this woman's legs crossed at the ankle? This is a fashion thing. The red carpet did this to us, didn't it? Ladies do this on the red carpet as a means of looking slender. We do this now to make our look more sleek. But if we do this after standing with our feet apart for a while, it might mean, okay, I've had enough of you. We need to wrap this in the bud, nip it in the bud, and we're done. Shades on our face while we're talking in the sunshine, in the inside of a building. Why are your shades on your face? You blocked me out already. So pay attention to what's going on. And arms crossed is never good. Arms crossed, hands in pockets, never good. Okay, so Wendy, very good point. Wendy says, when I was figuring out my headshot for real estate, I saw a lot with arms crossed and didn't think of it. It's interesting that a lot of people do their business picture with their arms crossed. You have to make the differentiation between this being the business power pose versus I don't want to talk to you. There is a difference. Just like the ankles being crossed being this thing that women do to slenderize themselves versus I don't want to talk to you. So people will understand the context under which you cross your arms. And usually when the hands are up, right, and we're doing one of these things, it's a bit of a power pose as opposed to this here. See, that usually comes with some lips. Look at here, look at it, sweet. You see all that extra that came with it? Now that's different than catch it, subtlety. Both hands were still out. I'm smiling. I do one more time. Difference. in chapters 19 through 24. They consolidated about 7 or 8 chapters into these 6. So in your books, are you all on chapter 19, fair housing laws? Is that what it looks like in the books that you have? Awesome. Okay, so we're all on the same page. This is what we're doing. Fair housing laws, governing fair housing, embracing diversity, definitely having a little fun talking about cultural attitudes, practices, and one of my favorites, communication, business planning with diversity. I'm going to tell you now that we're going to go over chapter 23 in about 6 seconds flat. When you look in your book, feel free to glance at that right now. It's a very, very short chapter, and it really does involve you planning things out for your respective businesses. That's not something we can do effectively because today is test day. So this is something you're going to do for yourselves to discuss how you want to include diversity in your respective companies and your businesses. But I do have a little bit of information for you to help you do that, but we won't have the luxury of time to do it. And it is also a very repetitive chapter. I hate to say it, but knowing what I know about these books, because I've been delivering the curriculum for so long, it is a super repetitive chapter. It delivers stuff you've seen at least 2 other times in 2 other locations. So it's redundant and there won't be a lot of need to look at it again. And then working with sellers and buyers also is slightly redundant with what we saw in the financing section, along with what Jody gave you. So we also get to curb that a little bit as well, so that we can get into exam review. So is everybody kind of cool with that? I'm not shorting you anything, but in studying the way the books were rewritten, there's a little redundancy in those last 2 chapters. So just letting you know, I studied, I did my part. So these are your learning outcomes. Bottom line is what Texas Realtors wants you to know, and even the National Association, it wants you to go ahead and look around your neighborhood. Look at the demographic information and understand what's happening in your neighborhood and understand the trends on real estate in your area. Look at cultural stereotypes, assumptions, your own personal biases. Let me just tell you now, we all have these. There's no such thing as I don't have them. Yes, you do. I do. We all grew up with them. There's just no, that's not even a nasty word. We all have them. We grew up with them. And there's nothing wrong with that unless you let it affect what you do as a realtor. And that's all we're here for today. Then we're going to explain how inclusion is the goal. That's all. Inclusion's our goal today. We just need to be diverse. We need to be sensitive, and how that's going to help you maximize your business. We're going to talk about communication styles. This is one of my favoriteest things to discuss. You'll see why later. We're going to share with you something you might not have seen, and something, I'm going to give you a great link from HUD on this one later, some fair housing laws. We're going to specifically hit the LGBTQ community that's not listed on the protected classes list, but HUD still has regulations for them as well that we need to expose you to so that you don't get spanked in terms of inclusion here. And then we need you to definitely increase your level of understanding and just making sure you know what business norms and etiquettes to put in place. So before it's over, like I said, on a personal note, make sure you put some things in play for yourself before you move on in the future. Let's go. We did our review, so that's where we were supposed to land. Let's hit the fair housing laws. Boom. So move, slide. This is what the law prohibits, okay? So bear in mind this one for our exam. You cannot refuse to show or sell or rent a property. Every person is supposed to have, and this is when they're working with us. This is you. We're talking about you. So we're supposed to be fair. You cannot refuse to show or sell or rent property. You're not supposed to give any different treatment. We are not supposed to panic sell or induce panic selling. We're not supposed to induce that block busting. Oh Lord, here come the so-and-sos, you need to move. Oh Jesus, they are about to move into the neighborhood. You can't do that. You also cannot tell a certain group of people, oh, that particular ethnic group tends to live in this neighborhood. I think you'd be more comfortable living over there. And let me let you know, there's some groups right here in Houston that tend to live in certain clusters. It's true. It's just that you can't be the one to say that. Now, if they come to you and say, I would like to live in certain neighborhoods, fine, I'll take you where you want to go. It's just that you can't make the offer. Discriminatory advertising, you may not do it. And we're going to expound on all this later. And threats or interference with a person's fair housing rights, can't do it. So let's kind of dig deeper. Let's move on. This one blew my wig back. I'm not going to lie. This word right here goes against everything I was taught. Fair Housing Act tends to use the term handicap rather than disability. For whom is this backwards? Because I was taught use disability instead of handicap. I never noticed it. So let me just say, even though the Fair Housing Act chooses to use the term handicap, I'm going to let my client tell me what to do. Is this reverse for most of y'all? I see Wendy nodding, yeah. I never noticed it. So the Fair Housing Act tends to use the word handicap. I'm going to watch a person's face. And if I say handicap and that sends their face into a little bit of a crunch, I'm going back to disability. Or I'm going to ask them, which term do you prefer? Because I'm not, well, Fair Housing says I need to, I'm going to use what makes my client feel comfortable, just FYI. So just because the FHA or the Fair Housing Act rather says one thing, I'm going to let my client drive that conversation. But they do say, this is a person that has a physical or mental impairment that limits one or more major life activities. They've got a record of that impairment and is regarded as having such an impairment. That is a handicapped or disabled person, just to be clear. And let me double check something. Is my page number correct with y'all's page numbers? Based on what's on the actual page, not your PDF reader? Is that what's on y'all's Candace? Is that a yes? Yeah. Okay, cool. 209, yeah, not your PDF reader, but on your books. Just making sure. I went through a lot of pains to renumber. We'll make sure I'm not confusing you. So this is partly what was in the old book. These are the things that are considered handicapped: walking, seeing, or hearing impairments, a history of mental illness, but things that are not considered handicapped. And I think this was removed from the book. Is this list no longer in your book, right? This was out of the book.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The previous slide is on page 210 also, not 209. I don't know if it matters.
Some people are saying, yeah, and we're not going to stop for that. Just put that one in the chat, but thank you. Some people are saying 209, some people are saying 210, but make sure you're looking at your number, not your PDF reader, but definitely put that in the chat and I'll make notes on it. In this list, I think this came out of your book. Did this come out of your book, y'all? Because this, did this come out of your book, the not handicap list? It did. I liked this list. Smokers, that is not a handicap. You cannot claim that as a handicap. I don't know why this came out. I really thought this was a good list. You being a user of illegal substance, you being a transvestite, this was in the old book. I think it was actually a decent list to keep in there for clarity's sake. So I kept it in here. in the older presentation. Snap it if you feel like you'd like the list. I'm going to move on. All right, so take note of 1866, the Civil Rights Act, for your exam, but you have a list of things to just kind of remember with regard to the historical background of housing. And many of us are just kind of used to this. We've seen this list of historical legislation. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that not list came out of the book. I actually liked that book, that list. That list is a list that people have tried in the past, Candace. That not list, I liked it. But the Civil Rights Act, 1866, that's going to show up on your exam as part of the historical background of housing. So make a note on page 210, if you all are studying during your lunch break, that's going to be on your exam. So let me open up the floor for about a 2 minutes discussion. RFB means removed from book, but I'm going to ask this one question, just question number one. Do you all think we've made any progress in terms of ending discrimination in housing? The question is progress, not did we end it? Have we made any progress? What do you all think? I'm seeing, some gentle head nods, yes. And I think we've made some progress. Do I think we have a long haul? Yeah. But I think we've made some progress. Yolanda said, no, we've made zero progress. You made no progress, Yolanda? Open them up. She said no.
No, we have not. And
no progress.
As a realtor, I experienced it. As an agent, no, we have not.
Zero. Not one iota. Well, she said no, and she put a little extra on it, so she meant no, absolutely. I feel like we've made some. I feel like we got a super duper nasty long way to go. And I do mean nasty long way to go. There's so much more that can be said. I understand Yolanda's position, and I understand a lot of people's positions. Let me ask anybody who's comfortable, tell me why you believe we have made some progress, if you're comfortable stating so. Yes, ma'am, Cherie. Your mic is off, though. Yes, ma'am. Your mic is off. Cherie?
Here, I got it. Okay. If you look at a picture of all of us sitting here right now, when I was a kid growing up, I can tell you right now that living in Kansas back then, and if someone was going to a realtor, I would have probably seen nobody, but mostly white men realtors and some maybe white women realtors. But look at our diverse group we've got here. There's had to have been some progress as far as like real estate agents go. And I'm in my 60s. I don't think people in their 60s were probably as welcome to sell people homes as they would have been now, back then. So I think there's been a lot of progress as far as that goes for us as agents, because look at the diverse group we've got.
Okay. I definitely understand that viewpoint. Yes, ma'am. And then who else had a viewpoint you don't mind sharing?
I did.
Yes, ma'am, Natasha.
I believe that we have made a little bit of progress, but that's only because we have had to put laws in effect that if we join in the prejudice, then we would lose our license. And I think that's the part of the only reason why a lot of people are acting appropriately. And that's why we have to have laws, is because if there's no repercussions, then they would do what they want to do.
Here's the thing, those laws still don't protect everyone, even though they're set in place. The reason why I say that there's no change, especially in our industry, is because the laws are not set up to protect everybody. Trek and everybody else, HAR, you can name all the initials. They're not set up to protect everyone.
Oh yeah, I know. And only from this past election, and I'm not getting political, but they had to put a change in place that if you are saying certain things as a realtor, then you can be, then you can lose your license. You can, there are repercussions that way. But otherwise, people would go, do whatever they want to do. And it's not right when we're trying to do what we're supposed to do, but then I have clients, minority clients, that don't want to go in the house because they know they might be on video, and then those people, they don't know who lives there, and they don't want them to not pick their offer because they're minority. So
Amen.
we can't control other people, but if you know your clients are doing that, or if they're trying to steer you, you need to cut them loose.
Amen to that. All right now. Okay, thank you very much for open discussion and respecting each other. See, I love it when folks do that. Thank you. And we're moving on. Thank you very much. I have to say, I've always been proud of the groups that take this class with me because of everyone's ability to respect each person. Let's keep going. We do have some exemptions to fair housing. We're going to cover those pretty fast. It's interesting to note that there are some exemptions. FSBOs, exempt if they don't use one of us. They're exempt if they don't use one of us. Now, the minute they call one of us and get us in the mix, they must get one of us in the mix. You do what you want with your house. That's your house. But you call one of us for some help, that's it. You're abiding by the fair housing regulations. There's something called Mrs. Murphy's exemption. Religious organizations and private clubs have them. And then housing for older persons. Let's take a look at each one of them here. So who the heck is Mrs. Murphy, right? Take a picture of this. It's not quite in your book this way. Page 256 has some information, but Mrs. Murphy's exemption says that if a dwelling has 4 or fewer rental units and the owner lives in one of those units, that home is exempt from the FHA. Mrs. Murphy is the hypothetical elderly widow who has converted a part of her home into a rental apartment to supplement her limited income. So also, the exemption does not apply to rental advertising. So that means Mrs. Murphy cannot run, she cannot run a discriminatory ad indicating, for example, a certain religious group is not welcome to rent her apartment. So it does not apply to advertising, but it's her home still. So she can let in and out of her home whom she wants. She's renting out a part of her house. She has the right to say, you look scary to me. I do not want you up in here. But when she pulls one of us in to help her, then that becomes a different thing. And she must abide by fair housing laws. So there is a hitch in that giddy up. Once we get involved, then she must change how she behaves. She must change how she behaves. So additionally, this exemption does not apply, one more time, when she pulls us in. There you go. I forgot my little camera. Did y'all catch how my camera changed? It is a diverse camera, a rainbow camera. Ta-ta! For the sake of diversity. All right, so FSBO exemptions. A person doesn't own more than 3 single-family houses. The house is sold without one of us helping. Again, once we're in the mix, it changes everything for these people. The owner doesn't reside in the property at the time of sale because we're talking single family. And then the house must be sold without the use, again, of that discriminatory advertising. Advertising is another beast. You can't put discriminatory advertising out there. So if you don't own any more than 3, then you can be discriminatory, as bad as that sounds, about whom you are renting your homes to. And this is in your book, by the way, nothing special. And here comes the little bit about religion. Take a look at the next slide after I put this up. So religious organizations have some exemptions under fair housing laws, believe it or not. If they own the dwellings, they may limit the sale, rental, or occupancy to people who belong to those organizations. The exempt dwellings cannot be used for commercial purposes. And religious membership must not be restricted based on race, color, or national origin, right? Now let's do something interesting. Y'all ready? Get your cameras out. I think you might want to see this. religious symbols. Take a look at them and let's do it. 1, Christianity. 2, Muslim faith. 3, Judaism. 4, Hinduism. 5, Taoism. 6, who knows where we're going? Who knows what that's for?
Yeah, it's the Third Reich Nazi Army.
No, it's not.
Really?
And I love you for being bold enough to say so.
It's Hinduism.
That's a swastika, is it? That's interesting. Oh, the 4 dots.
Thank you.
Makes it. Thank
Gregory,
you.
I absolutely adore you for being brave enough to say so.
It's
We're going to
actually,
hit this in just a second, but it's not the same.
it's actually a very sacred sign for most Hindus. It's even more than number 4, supposedly. So
Go ahead, Shelley. If you want to expound on it, by all means, please do. That's what we're here for.
it's just that's what it is. It's not. It has nothing to do with you know, the Nazi signs or any of that. I mean, I grew up here. I read that, went to school here. So, but this is a sign that I've grown up with since I was a kid. You know, this is a very sacred Hindu sign that's for the gods in Hindu. So I really don't know how it actually made over to the Nazi era either. I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to show a little something that and I'll show you where Gregory's mind went. And I'm sure 99% of the rest of us went. Let me get the rest of this. Let me put the rest of this up for us, y'all. Again, Gregory, thank you so much for being honest enough to just say what came to mind, because I've seen arguments online with people who judged other people, specifically on, y'all take a picture of this if you'd like this for further use and further study. This is worth sharing in your brokerages so that people don't make judgments. I saw on Twitter once someone whose symbol, instead of their Twitter profile picture being a face, they use this swastika. And so someone snapped back about a comment that was being made. Well, that's you would say that you're a Nazi. And someone jumped up and said, hold up. This person's not a Nazi. That's a Hindu Buddhist symbol. And the person who made the snarky little Nazi snarky comment apologized immediately, said, thank you for the education. I was so happy they nipped it in the bud. But this is what y'all need to know. Ta-da. The slight tilting of the symbol is what makes it different. And so they're not the same. If it matters, take a picture of it just for your own, education, share it in your offices. But it's one of those things where, remember when I mentioned bias, and by accident we do this, and we don't do it on purpose. We just grew up with this. And so again, Gregory, absolute love to you for transparency and honesty. Thank you very much. And let me just say, guilty, 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 until I started teaching this class. So Shelley, thank you for the education. And this is the one little moment when we just had a little religion come up in our class. Thank you. Awesome stuff. Let's keep going. Housing for older persons. In 5 years and a few months, dude, I'm in. What? I'm so stoked. I'm almost there. Housing for older persons refers to 3 types of housing. Senior housing, and by the way, remember this for the exam, okay? So senior housing that's provided under federal or state programs. We've got housing that's intended for and solely occupied, exclusively for people 62 years of age or older. And then we've got housing intended and operated for occupancy for people 55 years of age or older. But catch this, y'all know we got some seniors who are married to some youngins, so they can bring your youngins with them. You know, every now and then you get you a 68-year-old woman married to a 42-year-old. She can bring her young young husband up in there with her. And so there's some housing that allows for a younger spouse. A cougar can bring her young husband with her. So there you go. 55 and older. To qualify as 55 and over for this housing, at least 80% of the units have got to be occupied by at least one person that's 55 years old. And they have to publish and adhere to the policies that they've got for the intent for older folks to be in there. And they've got to comply with some HUD rules for verification of occupancy. So again, these neighborhoods, have y'all seen these in Houston? These neighborhoods, boy, I'm gonna tell y'all something. They don't play. They won't even let you tour the neighborhood. Some of them are gated. They would not even let my mom and I roll through. This is years ago. Y'all look too young. Y'all can't be up in here. Excuse? I had to pull out my realtor card. We just wanted to see. They did not play. Y'all too young. Y'all can't be rolling up in here. So anyway, I'm one of these days, I'm gonna be old enough to move in. So real estate professionals who market to older persons, make sure the facility is stated in writing that it complies with requirements for exemptions. Now, I don't know about this, but the book at one point said, avoid the term adult when marketing. Use the term senior and 55 and older. Who in the room has a feeling about this? I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not sure I'm liking this. With the voicing of Yolanda. Open a mic. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'd rather be an adult than a senior. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right? I mean, Candace, you're not even halfway there, but I mean, do you want to be an adult or a senior? You're not. You look great.
I'm only 15 years away from 55. Thank you very much.
But I'm just saying, but I'm like 2
Closer
months.
to 55 than, well, that's not true.
But what would you, when you get there, what do you want to be called?
Oh, I'm with that. I like the adult part. I mean, you are an adult.
I want to be called a senior. You know what I'm saying? It just,
unless there's a discount involved with the name senior, I'll take it.
That's what I was going to say. I loved AARP at 50. I love getting into the movies at 55. Now I'm in my 60s, and anything 62 and over, I'm there. So call me senior, call me old lady. I don't care. Call me any of it.
I'll take $2 off. I'll take $2 off my admission.
Me too.
Y'all need to quit. So it's a mixed bag. It really is a mixed bag. I'm liking adult. I don't know. Just, does anybody else have any thoughts about it? I like read the person's face. I guess it's read the room situation, but the book is like, don't use adult. I don't know. It's a weird rule. So I'm all about reading the room. Okay. So the book says one thing, you read the customer's face.
I think you're right. I'm 62. I don't feel 62. I have a young boyfriend and I love it. I don't want to be a senior. I'm not ready. I'm not there. Right? I got 5 grandkids. My oldest grandkid's 14. I love it all. And the picture on the previous slide, all the old ladies with the little gray hair, the little canes, I think you need to spruce that up a little. Thank you.
Noted. You get
Hey, but think about this. Think about this. Look how the new 50s and 60s look. Look at J-Lo. Look at Halle Berry. They do not look like that.
You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave my little gray haired people up, and then I'm gonna let a J-Lo picture spin right on in there. I'm gonna do that, okay? I'm just for you, for future classes, I'm gonna let J-Lo spin right on in there. I'm gonna do that. Check. Okay, done. Point taken. This is what we have to do to improve these classes. I love y'all. Okay, so let's keep going. I mean, point very well taken. Okay, so LGBTQ, I'm going to put a link in the chat in a moment, but housing discrimination against this group may still be covered by the Fair Housing Act. And housing providers that receive HUD funding have FHA insured loans, lenders insured by FHA, they are still subject to some regulations that are supposed to ensure what's called equal access. Let me go ahead and pull that up because I had it ready to go prior to class. Let me just make sure I get this and put it in the chat for you all. Because again, when I read that, you know me, I like to go look it up. So let me, first of all, share the link in the chat with you all. Let me drop that screen. And right here, you're going to need to copy that. Y'all know the chat will disappear if you get locked out. So go ahead and copy this now. And then let me show it to you. Let me drop all my screens so I can see it. And then pop that back up. Okay, so share right screen, which is that one. Okay, does everybody see my internet screen that says fair housing? That's the link I just shared, and it comes from, this is the HUD website, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So housing discrimination and persons identifying as LGBTQ, and that's what I just sent you. So this does talk about the Fair Housing Act, the Equal Access Rule, or state and local discrimination, anti-discrimination laws. So I was like, okay, tell me about the Fair Housing Act and this Equal Access Rule. So you guys might need to get a little familiar with it, but let me get down here. That Equal Access Rule example that's given right here is very interesting. It says, and let me blow it up so everybody can kind of eyeball it right there. They gave the example, an underwriter for an FHA insured lender is reviewing a loan app by two men. Both incomes are being used as the basis for the creditworthiness of the applicants. The underwriter assumes they're a gay couple and as a result denies the application, despite the fact that the applicants meet all requirements for the loan. This may violate HUD's Equal Access Rule, which prohibits FHA insured lenders from taking actual or perceived sexual orientation into consideration in determining adequacy of an applicant's income. So even though that's not like part of the protected classes group, you can still be violating some regs. Other ones for the Fair Housing Act, take a look here. A transgender woman is asked by the owner of her apartment building not to dress, excuse me, let me highlight it again, not to dress in women's clothing in the common areas of the property, like a lobby or something. This may violate the Fair Housing Act's prohibition against sex discrimination, which includes discrimination based on nonconformity with gender stereotypes. Or this one, a gay man is evicted because his landlord believes he'll infect other tenants with HIV or AIDS. This may violate the Fair Housing Act's prohibition against disability discrimination, which includes discrimination against people who have or are perceived to have HIV or AIDS. How about that? So, stuff I didn't even know until I started digging deeper. You now have the link. It's a great source of education for your offices. Just thought I'd share that with you. There you go. Let me put my chat back up so I can keep up with you guys. Participants, chat, and screen. Awesome. Still going. All right. Just wanted you to know where some of that was going here. And we are, I'm going to speed it up because I wanted to get more crammed in before our break. Tell you what happened. Someone mentioned it. I think Natasha started this conversation. We need to finish it. Y'all know what happened last year with regard to some realtors popping off at the mouth on Facebook about certain ethnic groups of realtors and customers and whatnot. And too many people had too much to say about who didn't need to be in houses and blah, blah, blah. And too much went on last year. Too much went on. And when John Legend jumps up and has something to say about Houston realtors, well, now you know just too much went on last year. So Article 10 of the Code of Ethics changed. It changed and it got all up in our business, and we cannot do things on social media we used to do. Article 10 went back and said we can't do a whole bunch of stuff anymore. We can lose our membership in the association based on what we do out there in the world. And lots of stuff in the code has been updated. Let's take a look at it really briefly. You all can see this on your own, but take pictures. I'll put it all up now so you can snap it, discuss it in your offices on your own. But policies approved by the board of directors say, one, we've got some three broad categories of changes. One, the code of ethics applicability to our activities. New standard of practice under Article 10, prohibiting discriminatory speech and conduct. And three, revisions to how the definition of public trust is stretched out. They changed a lot. So take a snapshot of this link. That way you can go get more information. Include this, remember, in chapter 24, I believe, when you write your policies out. For our colleague who's going to be a broker, you might need to put this in your respective handbook, the new policies. There's the link for it. And here's what the new standard of practice says, in case anyone hasn't seen it itself. Realtors are not allowed to use harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, slurs based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, family status, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity. All of it. Can't use any of that. Harassing, hate speech, epithets, or slurs. It's 10-5, it's brand new. Does this apply to my social media? Y'all know the answer is yes. Board of directors on the national level discuss that a realtor's speech and conduct reflect on the organization overall. And it said that you can't do it on your social media platforms or privately identified one. It doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook. So according to the preamble of the Code of Ethics, realtors should be guided by the spirit of the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. So yes, it does. When you pledge to abide by the Code of Ethics, the highest principles and ethics that we need to follow in all of our activities means that we cannot be abandoned in a profession dedicated to protecting the best interests of consumers. You cannot abandon them after 5 o'clock. It's all the time. So let's look at that third thing, that definition of public trust. It was expanded. It was expanded to include all discrimination against protected classes under Article 10 of the Code of Ethics and all fraud, and to limit the reporting requirement to final ethics decisions involving real estate related activities and transactions. Let me move this one along a little further. The definition of public trust was expanded. Take a look here. The rationale was this: at present, the definition of public trust now includes demonstrated misappropriation of client or customer funds or property, willful discrimination or fraud resulting in substantial economic harm. They want to make sure that nothing we do harms anyone in any way. So the recommendation would expand the definition to include all discrimination against all these protected classes, all types of fraud. They want to make sure that the public can trust us in every single way. The recommendation, oops. Let me make sure I didn't, okay, here we go. And those changes to the Code of Ethics, let me just say this. There was a policy, and you all need to catch this for the exam. There was also a change made to statement number 29 in the Code of Ethics. It amended the policy to expand applicability. This is a little bit of a repetition to all of our activities, everything we do. All of our real estate related activities is what it used to say. See right here where it says prior to the change, policy 20, statement 29 was only our real estate related stuff. It used to be only our real estate related stuff. Now it's everything. Now it's everything. All realtor activities. In the beginning, it was real estate related. Now it's just everything we do. You pick the career that just changed on you. And last but not least, if you really want to test how you're doing, go here. Take the Fairhaven test. There is a simulation that you can take. I think it's funny that they say it's a quick simulation when the thing takes 60 to 100 minutes. I don't know why they call it quick. That's a long time. But you're supposed to run through this simulation. They're going to throw a bunch of situations at you. And at the end of this simulation, you're going to see just how biased you are. I haven't done it yet. I'm scared to death, but I'm going to do it.
It's pretty
see how
neat.
biased I am or how discriminatory I am. Has anybody done it yet? Norma, how'd you do?
Actually, I did pretty good. To me, I guess it's because of the way we were brought up. It's common sense, most of the stuff. But I thought it was pretty neat because it allows you to change your answer. And then it'll say, hey, go ahead and choose the next answer to see what would have happened. And you do that, and it's like, wrong.
Oh, no. Okay. So let me put that slide back up. I'm scared. I'm going to do it, though. I'm totally chicken to do it. But okay, so instead of food pictures, because Robert, was that you? Who's like, where's the food picture? Okay, so Robert, instead of food, today, coffee cups. Drink coffee, do stupid things faster with more energy. That also means we're on a break. See you guys back here at 10 minutes after the hour. We're doing coffee cups, Robert. Gregory, what's 23.86 or 2386.31? You're muted though, but what is that? You're still muted. You know, are you talking to me?
Sorry, Misha, I was, that was not meant to go there. Was doing something.
Multitasking. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, caught, nailed.
I'm watching your lips moving. I'm trying not to bust you out loud, but at least you've been participating. And besides, you were so honest in identifying the swastika. I always appreciate somebody who jumps up like that and answers that question.
You know, as I said it, I noticed the angle before I noticed the 4 dots. And then I thought, wait a second, why is it straight as opposed to slightly turned? And I'm embarrassed that I did not know that.
I didn't.
And yeah, I am, as a child of Holocaust survivors who is very, in tune with my heritage and what the atrocities that occurred, and I'm reading about it now. I went and bookmarked something.
Did you?
and read.
But I loved that you did it. I mean, it was genuine, it was authentic, and it's exactly what I did when I first saw the graphic with all the gold symbols. And I thought, this is perfect for class. It's not in the book. I think it could really greatly enhance the book, but I just loved the authentic moment. So again, I just can't thank you enough for saying it.
Well, you know what, I think that it reminds me of the very important lesson in life. Do not judge the book by the cover. Understand what it is. And, I think all too often, I have been guilty of reading a situation and not necessarily understanding it. So clearly this is an example of where I would have been miserably wrong and had a degree of animosity or resentment.
Exactly.
And,
Me
and
too.
rather than, yeah. So it's a good lesson. Thank
Me
you
too.
for
Well, you
teaching
get
yet
back.
something else.
Yeah, well, look, you get back to what you were doing. I'm not going to absorb your break. I need mine too. So, but
Okay, goodbye.
okay, so all seniors, all adults, and all other classifications, we're getting back to class soon. Oh, I am going to, Wendy, do an entire slide dedicated. I'm going to do an entire slide, Wendy. I'm telling you. Hey, what? Go, Wendy.
That's my guy, my younger guy of 7 years.
All
And
right.
yeah, I think, and we like ride motorcycles together. We like, I don't feel like a senior. I know that I'm 3 years away from Medicare, and I'm excited about that actually.
Y'all good, right?
But we're having fun all the way.
I love it. But I am going to, you've given me some inspiration. I think I'm going to have some fun and create a whole new slide with a new face of senior/adult, and go find some over 55 and literally just put the picture like the new face of senior in there, because that's an excellent point to make. I'm like totally embarrassed now. See my bias creeping in? Excellent, excellent point. I love it. I love it. Where's my buddy Robert, who makes me better? Robert, I got something for you too, my friend. I just wanted to, yesterday, I forgot to bring it up at the end of the day. You did something also, just like the other lady that, like Teresa, had me go and call a title company. I also wanted to get clear. Something you did early in the class is something I did early in my learning to deliver this class. And that was the discussion of title theory versus lien theory, and how you were taught that Texas was a title theory state, and us presenting this as a lien theory state. And let me tell you, there is so much misinformation out there in cyberspace. You can find written articles absolutely arguing both sides, and you'd go, Lord, which one of these is legit? So I said, I'll tell you what, even though our books are written to tell you that this is a lien theory state, I said, I'll tell you what, let me call our legal team right here at Texas Realtors. And I did. I just forgot to tell you, we are a lien theory state. So just wanted to put that final nail in that proverbial coffin for you and let you know, according to Texas Realtors and their legal team, we're lien theory. Ta-da! But no, just thank you for making me dig deeper and getting a final answer from the legal team. And if I'm wrong, then we're gonna blame them, right? So there you go. But I did want to let you know. And one of the things I was supposed to do with the chart was make the word T on Texas stand for Texas and drive home the point that there is misinformation out there. Because again, there's whole articles that will fuss at you and tell you Texas is a title theory state and we're lien theory. So thank you for bringing it up. And my apologies for forgetting to finish that yesterday. Awesome stuff. Okay, let's keep going. I am enjoying this with you guys. Thanks again. Let me put my HEB grocery list down. Admittedly, that's how I used my break. Shopping. Chat back up. Oh, thank you, Cherie. She says, J-Lo, Sandra Bullock, Michelle Pfeiffer. Let's not be biased and forget the men. If you put men on the list as well, so if there's some fellas. Wasn't there one that just made the news that's over 52? He was at some lady's restaurant and everyone's remarking Ben something about how wonderful he looks, even though he's 52. We just saw him in the news. If anybody remembers, he's at this restaurant looking great. Put him up there as well. Okay, so sharing my screen. Coffee cup of the moment. All right, so there are protected classes. Ta-ta. If it helps you remember what those classes are, realtors can really sell houses fast now. Well, that was last year. We're slowing down. So there you go. But that's one way to help you remember what our protected classes are. You all do know which one, again, is not on the list, and that's going to be age. Age is not on the list because they really do get to, hey, stay out of here. You're not of age. So who knows, whoops, about these. I am so glad this was added to the list. Hands in the air if you are guilty of either asking for a love letter or giving a love letter. I am totally guilty. Love letters are those letters that buyers are either asked to produce or decide to give to say, hey, consider me and my family because we really want this home and we really need a place to stay, and we're really going to take great care of your house, it's okay. So I'll ask again, has anybody ever worked with a seller who wanted letters along with the offer? Or has anyone ever worked with a buyer who said, let's attach a photo and a letter to make your offer look better? Well, now Texas Realtors is kind of getting hip to the game saying, skirt, don't do it. We are going to fall right into violating all kinds of regulations with regard to non-discrimination because of this. Page 218, they just added it. It's a tactic used in an attempt to stand out to the seller, especially in a hot market with low inventory and a massive amount of bidding wars. Just came out of one, but they could open this up to lots of bias and major fair housing violations. Why? Because now we're introducing family status. How am I supposed to compete? I'm single. I have no cute little children. Someone may hate chihuahuas. What am I supposed to do? Do you know what I'm saying? Someone may favor the children and the hubs. It's just me and my little fat little dog. And they may not want to let me up in here, and I want all 5 bedrooms. She don't need that much house. Excuse you? Maybe I want that much house. But it may create discrimination just based on what's in those letters. Well, I want my house to go to a family. If we're involved in it, then we cannot participate in love letters. So if anybody's using that, you got to knock it off. And you got to tell your clients, knock it off. And no, you cannot add it in the agent remarks. So y'all ready to tell your clients no more? I know it kind of bites, doesn't it? But we are going to get ourselves in a world of trouble. Yes, ma'am, Shelley.
You said you can't add it to the agent remarks. As a listing agent, can you not add it there? Say no love letters?
Well, you can say no love letters, but like secretly saying, send us a letter telling us why you want the home, like hiding it in the agent remarks that you want one. You can't hide it there, because some people would say, well, I can just hide it here. But saying no love letters, please. Yes, absolutely. Or even putting that in the public comments, no love letters. I put that all over the place. Oh. Yes. So that everybody knows you didn't ask for one. I'd splash that. The house is at 123 Main Street, no love letters, please. And honey, I would make it public. Yes, Nicole.
What about if I, like what happens if we get 3 love letters, let's just say, do I have to give it to the seller?
I wouldn't participate in it. Now listen, what happens is, if you get the letter and you see what it is, 1, tell the client, I got it. 2, I'm not giving it to you. And 3, kindly return it to the person who sent it to you with the offer and tell them why. Because you are indirectly making me a party to violating these laws. Let everybody know why it's got to stop right here with me. But put in writing, I don't know if you know how I feel about this. It didn't happen unless it was in writing. So put in writing, we received your letter. We understand the good intention behind it, but it has to stop with us, the realtors, because we're about to be party to violating these regs, and send it right on back. Yeah, I mean, and you know who you're supposed to tell, right? Your broker. Tell the broker. Make sure your broker knows too, because your broker may also have a preferred course of action. I mean, like certified, you know what I'm saying? Proof of delivery, just whatever it is your broker has also. Let's see what's in the chat. You might have some comments from your colleagues. I feel if the listing agents can start putting it in the agent remarks stating no love letters, please, that would really help the situation. Yeah, Shelley agrees. Right there, just let's nip it in the bud. That would be nice. And can I just be transparent? My degree is in journalism. I am a degreed print journalist. If you hadn't figured it out yet, I am an Associated Press award-winning print journalist. That's why I'm particular about what I write in my slides. And so, yeah, I can put a love letter together and snatch a house out from underneath all of it. And I used to write a love letter that would win a listing. Let me tell you something, when the client was told to get one, oh, honey, let me do it for you. I got you. And we would win every offer that ever required them in the past. When these were things that we would do, we would win these listings because I could put a love letter together like nobody's business. That was eons ago. But yeah, we're all blessed we didn't get busted for this because it was a violation. And now I see that. So I agree with Shelley. Just put it in there. Let's not do it. Glad it's in the books. Let's keep marching on. Maybe we can get a little ahead of the schedule. This one's gonna hurt your feelings. Advertising. Advertising. This little summation is kind of in your books, but I don't think it's summed up like this anymore. This is the old slide, but I like it this way. It's real short, real just boom, bam, pop. So if you want to picture that one, catch it. It's written again on the next slide, but with all that detail. This one is much easier to see. Violations, selective publications. I'm gonna go real straight up with you. For those of you who are in Houston, if you're familiar with Bel Air, between Highway 59 and the Beltway, that part of town is highly Asian. I used to live over there. I love that side of town. You can't tell me nothing about that side of town, but if that is the only area where you advertise, you're being selective and you are being targeted. You cannot only advertise in one area to one group. Selective or non-inclusive advertising models can't do it. Selective or targeting distribution locations can't do it. And selective or non-use of equal opportunity logo or slogans, which means you can't use the equal opportunity logo in this ad and then not use it in the other one. It must go in all of your ads. So don't not use it over here, but use it over there. That is just the summation of typical violations when people are advertising. Let me just say it's difficult for us to not target market when we advertise. I have called Texas Realtors about this one, and it's difficult. So take a look at this expanded version of what you just saw. Again, you cannot advertise in select editions of the local newspaper. You can't do it. You cannot go to strategically limited geographical areas populated only by a particular racial group, religious group. If you're going to go for one of these areas, you must also advertise in general newspapers. That means go ahead and advertise to your group and then place the ad in the Chronicle too. Got to do it everywhere as well as your targeted group. That way you can prove that you're advertising to everyone. I have called Texas Realtors about this. We've gone round and around about it. You just can't limit. You can't limit. That word here is limiting. It didn't say you couldn't do it. It says you can't limit. So you must be cautious. Strategically limiting. You can't limit your advertising. Whoops, I'm crossing out, excuse me. You can't limit to small papers and free journals because they cater. Now, if you want to go to small papers and free journals, that's great. If you're doing green sheet, you hit green sheets. We still have a green sheet. Is it out there? Are they still out there? Look how old I am with the green sheet. But you need to hit green sheets in all regions. You just need to make sure that you hit all the areas. You can't use just niche publications that don't have generic readership. Again, this is your goal here. The minute you look like you're only going for one group, this is when we get ourselves in a little trouble. And you can't promote the home in select sales offices only. It's an interesting little slippery slope. Did you all notice that Facebook won't let you narrow down your ads anymore to certain zip codes? You saw all of these changes start to happen. It won't let you narrow down your ads anymore to age groups. Did y'all catch how that changed for those of you who advertise? So we can't get that specific anymore. It won't let us target. So be cautious. And if you're not sure, don't forget, call Texas Realtors Legal Hotline. They're amazing for that. And then this one, man, this one blew my socks off. This is new in the book. This is brand new in the book. And I'm going to get you some information because, and let me tell y'all something, I am recording and I know every one of you who's in here, don't you bust me, because I'm going to turn around and bust y'all too. Don't you bust me. I have to get my own website up to date, but look at here. Real estate brokers in Texas are being threatened now because of website lack of accessibility. Did you all know this was a thing? I didn't even, Berenice, you knew this was a thing? Is your website accessible? Here she comes, y'all. Let me. And this is handicap.
I was taking some marketing classes, and that's one of the things that they were going over now. That was one of the newer things that they need to make that accessible, because someone can't remember what it was. There's a pending lawsuit regarding this, but I'm not sure exactly in what terms, but yeah.
And Candace is asking, does that mean by phone, by mobile? What it is, first of all, this is about ADA accessibility. And what makes this difficult is there's no set of regulations, laws. There's no handbook for it, but there's some things that we're supposed to be putting in place. Like if you develop your own website and you put up pictures, have you ever done this and it shows you, please label what the picture shows? And that way, if you turn on the feature where if your mouse goes over the picture, it will read to you a description of what's in the picture. See, I'm guilty. I've never labeled my pictures. I'm like, it's a horse. Why I need to tell you it's a horse? Oops. Well, now I need to go back and start labeling all my pictures, because the feature that would tell you what's in it won't work. So let me put the slide back up, because now I have to spend my weekend making my website accessible. So if it's not designed appropriately, individuals with certain disabilities may not be able to access the website either by sight or by listening. And that lack of access might be considered discrimination under the ADA and Fair Housing Act. Now, let me get you some information. Woo, let me get you here, my friends. The next page is the best website I could find with some information on where to go to start doing that. There's the link at the top, and this is a screenshot of what this article looks like. This came out last year in June. It turns out that our industry, realtors, is like Berenice said, people are coming after us. I don't know why we're being targeted so much, but people are coming after us. So is your website ADA compliant? Whew. So try looking at this article. And if you'll see in the image, the screenshot I captured, it goes down this list that's right here on the side. What is the compliance? Which businesses need to comply? It does acknowledge no clear website accessibility guidelines are out there, but there is something called the WCAG, Website Compliance Accessibility Guidelines is what WCAG stands for. So there's some suggested guidelines. And then of course, liability for failure to comply. So I did have plans for the weekend, but what I do know is I'll probably be labeling my pictures. Candace has a great point in the chat. It does help you in the ranking if you do label your pictures and your pages correctly anyway. So that's a very good point, Candace. But as if they're not already scouring our websites to see if we're speaking incorrectly, now they're scouring our websites to see if they're ADA compliant. So that's the best information I could find to share with you guys. What is WCAG? Whoops. Did everybody get a snapshot of it who needed it? I'm sorry, I forgot to put the camera up. Okay. All right, you've got to, now, oh my goodness. There are a million quizzes and activities and things in your book. We can't get them all and take your test today. If anybody wants answers to all the questions, to all the quizzes, call me, we'll do it together. But this one I thought we'd do together. So let's do it together. Chapter quiz. True or false? Sex offenders are a protected class under fair housing laws. Are they a protected class? False. No, they are not. How about fair housing laws only protect minorities within each of the protected classes? Is that true or false? Totally false. I know it's Shelley's whole face. She's like, what? The key word in that sentence is minorities within each of the protected classes. Local laws must not include additional protected classes that are not covered by federal law. Is that true or false? That's totally false. Local laws can be adjusted or can adjust federal laws. Absolutely. That's false. How about this one? Now read this slow. Advertisements containing descriptions of properties related to accessibility, such as fourth floor walk-up, walk-in closets, services or facilities like jogging trails, or neighborhoods like walk to bus stop, do not violate the Fair Housing Act. Is that true or false? It's true. It's true because the advertisement sticks to a description of the property. It's because the ad sticks to a description of the property and we're not talking about the persons. Doesn't mean someone's not going to come after you because you said fourth floor walk up. But the truth is, Gregory, isn't this your old neck of the woods? Fourth floor walk ups, that means something where Gregory comes from. It means there's no elevator. We needed to know that.
I actually lived in one. It was called a railroad flat.
All right, see, there you go.
Front to
How
back.
about this one? Huh?
I grew up in one, front to back, railroad flat.
All right. How about this? A landlord cannot charge a separate deposit or an assistance animal as a reasonable accommodation. True or false? No separate deposit for an assistance animal as a reasonable accommodation. I'm going to get you an article about this. I'm going to get you guys an article from HUD about assistance animals. This is a very, very slippery slope. A landlord cannot request a photo ID with the lease application. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Totally false. I need to see who you are. I totally need to see you. And a landlord can refuse to rent a property to a prospective tenant who smokes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So there you go. Take a snapshot if you'd like it, but don't let me forget to get y'all information from HUD about two blog articles from HUD about assistance animals and HUD's position on assistance animals. It's very interesting reading. All right, embracing diversity. Where's everybody from? Put it in the chat or open your mics. My folks are from Jamaica, man, and Louisiana. I can't fake that accent, whatever. I just, Where's everybody from? You can open up a mic if you want. No, I don't need Kansas City. I'm talking about your heritage. Let's go back. Back. Let's get back into the, where do people's from?
Europe.
Well, now that was general. Can you narrow it down a little bit? Can you?
Yeah, actually, half the family's from France, half the family was from Holland, going back to the 16th century.
Oh, cool. Holland. Okay. I've never heard that one in this classroom. She said, my cheekbones are Cherokee Indian. All right now. For the cheekbones, my family, I've got some Indian. These are painted on cheekbones. You see right there? My mama got the last of the cheekbones. I have to paint mine on. Let's see. Mexico, Germany, India, Scotland, England. We got some, all right, Belgium in the house, my chocolate people. What else have we got? Who did I miss? Jamaica, Argentina, okay, China, Canada, England. I'm still laughing at Oklahoma. Natasha, I'm gonna get you. So we got a lot of folks in the room from a lot of different places. Mexico City, lots of wonderful folks in the room from different places. So moving on, the point is Peruvian and German. Okay, we've got a lot of folks from a lot of different places. And according to this slide, if you can embrace all of this diversity and put all of this in how you want, just do business and understand a little bit more about a whole bunch of different folks, you can do some great business. This is Houston, y'all. Too many different folks, too many different places for you to limit who you're going to work with. Bottom line, the more you know about a whole bunch of different things, the better off you are. Can I just tell y'all, I had one student who shared with me, strangest story I think I'd heard yet, is that there was a lady who did final walkthrough in the driveway of the home. She squatted down, licked her finger, put it in the air, and something about the way the wind blew, something happened. She refused to close on the house that day. That was it. She's done. She took whatever licks and lumps were coming to her. She didn't close. She said, nope, not doing it. I don't know what that meant to her. And I told the agent that was in this room, I said, one, that's interesting. But two, did you take a moment to ask her why and what she was doing? That's something you could have learned from, and better yet, you could have taught the rest of us, as opposed to going, whoa, what the heck was that about? And if anyone in here knows, please put that in the chat, because I've been trying to uncover that since it came up in class. I need to know, if the wind is blowing one way or the other, am I about to lose $6,000 in commission? I need to know. So if anyone knows that, chat me, private chat me. I'm not even judging, but it's one of those things where lesson learned. I'm still trying to Google that and research it. But the more that you accept that everyone's different and you start learning from it, the better off we do in business. I would have bought a fan and blew the wind the other way. Well, amen. All right. You know what I'm saying? We are a melting pot. I still don't understand that one, but if anybody, hey, share. But this is why we need to learn this stuff. One America principle. This is one of the principles that comes up in the business planning section. So we don't need to do it 3 and 4 times in the book, but it does come up repetitively. This is something from the National Association, and it's got 4 sections. We're supposed to be working under the following ideals. We're supposed to be working under a diverse demographic community. We're supposed to just, hey, we're diverse. We're supposed to be working under the ideal of opportunity for all. We're supposed to be responsible for all. And we are supposed to respect and celebrate everybody's diversity and embrace everybody's different values, including the wind lady. We're supposed to just embrace everything. And again, hit me up after class if anybody knows what that was about. I'd like to learn. So here's the graphic of what the One America Initiative looks like. Very simple. It's in your book somewhere. It used to not be, that's why my little camera is up there, but I think it's in your book now. I think it's in your book. And this also, This also should be in your book now on page 222. It used to not be, but I did highlight the star. I'm gonna help you find opportunities to buy the home you choose. That's our goal, y'all. That's it. We're not here to make judgments. We're not here to care why, who, where the house. That's not your job. My job is to help you find the house. My job is to earn some money so I can stay in the house I'm in and move on to the next one. I'm a simple person. I have nothing to do with none of that. I don't care. Not at that level. Lick your finger and let the wind blow any way you want to. I just want to get to the closing table. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to judge like that. I am here. See this one underline? I am here to help you meet your real estate needs because, and you are the reason I am in business. Now, if we would all remember that and not judge, wouldn't we be much further down the line to Natasha and Yolanda's point? Wouldn't homeownership be achieved at all levels and we be through? But caring a little too much is what stops us from achieving the goal. Let's just be in business and be about the business and move forward. And that's what the One America principle says. You're the reason I'm in business. Let's just handle our business. And I like the principles. So study them. Remind yourself of them once a month. This fits perfectly in chapter 24 when you're looking at your business goals. It is a redundancy that we're not going to cover again when we get to the afternoon. Steering, y'all know what this is. It happens when you start making assumptions and choices and you start trying to guide people over there, guide folks in that direction. We don't need to do all that. We don't need to do all that. Predatory lending, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, just a little bit. We don't need to lean too heavily into it. But home equity stripping, so those are those loans like reverse mortgages and things of that nature, those HECMs and HELOCs and all those alphabets we discussed in finance. That stuff leads to diminished personal credit standings, potential defaults on loans, and violation of federal consumer protections. Y'all just be careful of getting caught up in it. We go to jail too. If this is a mortgage industry issue, why are we being taught this information? Because you were in the line of fire. Besides, if you referred your people to the lender, didn't I warn you? Warned you. Be cautious. You're in the line of fire. Right here. Let the client make the decision about their financing options. Let your client make the decision about which lending option is best for them in your own respective teams and brokerages. When you decide to develop them, you're going to need to set your own policies. That's why this is something that must be taught. Let's move on. And again, that this is another model that is a redundancy in chapter 24, one more business model, the EPS, or Equal Professional Service Model. It's got 4 parts. This is just a quick listing of it. Let me just show it to you. It's a little simpler to see right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in your book. I think it's in your book in a linear fashion. This one's just angled. It's the same thing. Incorporate this into your business practices. Let me just give it to you numerically. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready? Here we go. Systematic procedures. I'm going to back up right here. See where it says, do I have a systematic procedure? Do I have objective information, etc.? Now we're going to do it here. Systematic procedures. When you're looking at that, these are the kinds of things that would go in the systematic procedures. This is what you might want to consider. And this would be in chapter 24, which is why we won't need to hit it later. How do you greet people? And right now, this is a big deal. Are we fist bumping? Are we elbow knocking? Are we just, hey, nice to meet you? Again, this is a COVID thing. This is a personal thing. This is a, I don't like sweaty hands situation. I don't know. I really don't know. This is, how are we doing this? There are some cultures, y'all know where I'm going with this, where men will only touch the person to whom they are married. You must be aware of this and not take offense in that. Follow your client's lead. So there's developing a consistent approach. How about obtaining and using objective information? Don't impose assumptions and biases when you're trying to assess people's needs and wants. Be objective, go where they need you to go. Letting the customer set the limits. Prospects are satisfied when choices meet their needs rather than lining up with your assumptions. And last but not least, offer a variety of choices. Just offer a variety of choices if you're going to do it at all. Just don't steer. Please don't steer. That's it. Just don't steer. And do this. Y'all want to stay out of trouble? Do the same thing every time for everybody, and no one can ever accuse you of being racist, exclusionary, etc. If you do the same thing every time for everybody, no one can ever accuse you of not being inclusive for all. Look where we have landed. Coffee cup, another meeting that should have just been an email. It's break time. It's break time. Boy, Robert, I got him trained on food. We need to get back to the coffee cups. Top of the hour, maybe 3 or 4 minutes right after the top of the hour. Hey, Guinness, what you got, sweetheart? Hey, honey bunny.